join us and hear more about our message and our platform with the People's Party of Canada. I don't know how many of you guys might have watched the federal leaders debate yesterday, and if any of you guys were able to catch it, you might have noticed that our party leader, Maxime Bernier, was not able to participate in that. So how you have a debate without any opposition is not a debate in my opinion. And some people had mentioned, I strongly believe there is a bit of a fear element to that. Even though we didn't get any candidates from the People's Party of Canada in the 2019 election, back then they were polling us at 4% of the national vote. And if anyone thinks that our movement slowed down in the least since then, I think you're kidding yourself, because we've only continued to grow, continue to spread our message, and continue to grow our voters base. It's pretty hypocritical, I think, and ironic that after they made the announcement that Max was not going to be allowed to attend, they turned around now and they're polling us ahead of the Bloc and the Green Party. Mm-hmm. So there needs to be some way we address this in the future to make sure that if you're a federal leader and you're running candidates all across Canada and over 300 ridings, you should be able to participate in that debate. And that's essential to our democracy in Canada, to make sure that eligible voters are able to make an informed decision come September 20th. So, as you guys know, it's September 10th today, so advanced polling has opened up. So this weekend, including up to Monday the 13th, you're able to go and cast your ballot early. This is great for anyone that might not want to wait in the lines come September 20th. And also, you've been able to vote almost every day at your local polling station. You just got to take your identification down there with you. So here we are, smack dab in the middle of an election. There was a lot of speculation that we were going to turn into a snap election, and people had some concerns, the people that were really concerned with the pandemic. And some of us were really hoping that we had this opportunity to be able to bring some common sense back to Ottawa, and to hopefully get some more PPC candidates actually elected into Ottawa so that your voices can be heard. So as I said, it's September 10th now. We have 10 days left to go. We've been doing a lot of work on the ground, but there's so much more that we have to do. So good for you guys for coming out here, learning more, and supporting your local candidate, Ken. As I said, we have to go full steam ahead the next 10 days. The media, the current establishment, they're doing everything they can to try to act like the People's Party of Canada doesn't exist. And when they do acknowledge our presence or our existence, they like to paint us out as these far-right extremists, neo-Nazis, white supremacists. It's absolutely absurd. Now myself, I currently live on the Six Nations Reserve, which me and Ken actually share within our riding, in Brantford, Brant, and Haldimand, Norfolk. I've been telling people, for being a First Nations person, and all this speak about reconciliation and respecting our First Nations people, I've been called a white supremacist or a neo-Nazi more times than Justin Trudeau's been caught doing blackface.
Shame.
So as many of you guys probably share similar concerns, there's a lot riding on this federal election. The Uniparty, doesn't matter if it's the Liberals, the Conservatives, the NDP, or the Greens, they are pushing the same policies, the same platform issues, and there's just trying to continue to divide us and polarize us. They have no regard for the rule of law in our country anymore. And as I said, they continue to push these issues forward without actually even consulting or listening to the Canadians that have really valid and true concerns of the current situation our nation is going. There's been a lot of talk about the vaccine passport system that in Ontario they're going to be rolling out come September 22nd. So there were some concerns at the beginning that people were thinking, well, I probably won't be able to go and cast my vote if I'm not vaccinated. Elections Canada has been very clear so far that they're not going to require proof of vaccination to go and cast your ballot. So that's really good on their part. I've been very impressed with them. They've been very impartial, and they've been very supportive to candidates from every party so far. So I've heard from a lot of people that have already tried to go and cast their vote that a lot of them are showing up without masks, and they've been great with that. They've accepted mask exemptions. I'm pretty sure the people going in there without masks, we can extrapolate where their vote's going. So as I said, there's a lot riding on this federal election, and you know what? They'll try to discredit or discount us any way they can. Do not be discouraged. There is so much work that we have to do the next 10 days, and we can do it. We will win this election by getting People's Party of Canada candidates into Ottawa that are going to stand by their principles. They're going to make sure that you and your family's voices are represented, that they're heard, and that we're creating a future for our country that you're proud to leave on to your children and our future generations. So I didn't ask Nathan at the beginning what my time limit was, so just grab the hook if I'm up here for too long. But yeah, it's important with these vaccine passports that are rolling out that we maintain our 4 principles that the People's Party of Canada was founded on. 2 of them specifically being fairness and respect. Now, the People's Party of Canada and our fellow candidates, we are not anti-vax. We are pro-choice when it comes to this issue with full and informed consent. That means getting the proper information to make the best informed decision for your personal health. You need to be told the full story, the effectiveness of these vaccinations, the possibility for adverse reactions, and I've even heard some very horrible stories of people even dying from these vaccinations. These are extremely concerning anecdotes and actually reliable information that we can see. Unfortunately, in Canada, we don't have a reporting system like they do in the United States, so even their system down in the US, it's very skewed. I've heard it's only 1 of 10 or 11 systems that report these adverse reactions. So there's some very credible concerns about this. And I don't know if any of you guys paid attention the last couple of weeks. There was a nationwide rally put on by Canada's frontline nurses, and this was to support our healthcare workers who are being alienated from their jobs. They're being coerced into disclosing their private medical information, which, as I've worked in healthcare myself at the Brantford General Hospital. So while we have had to take, I tell people I've taken more vaccinations than your average Joe working in healthcare. I'm not against them, but I do have concerns with this, and so do many of our healthcare workers. So while it was a requirement of our job to disclose these proof of vaccinations for these other ones we've had to take, when we're looking at an experimental gene therapy and requiring our frontline workers to take this, and they're raising serious questions and concerns about this, they're being, even our frontline healthcare workers, they're being cast aside as anti-vax or anti-mask. This is a lot of dangerous rhetoric that we're hearing from not only the media, but our elected representatives and our health officials in Canada. Now, I don't know about you, but when you have scientists, professors, doctors, nurses, PSWs, physiotherapists, all types of frontline workers that were propped up as heroes the last 18 months while we've dealt with this COVID-19 pandemic, now being alienated from their jobs, as I was saying, and treated like they're really a cancer within the system, and now they're facing, I won't say being fired, they're going to be put on unpaid leave. So this level of coercion for them and the disrespect that they've been shown the last few months is extremely hypocritical and contradictory to the message that we heard before these vaccinations rolled out. So as I said, I'm myself and Ken Gilpin and our other PPC candidates and our party leader, we are not against these vaccinations, but as I said, you need the full and informed consent to make the decision that is best for you. Now, where we draw the line with these vaccines is the vaccine passport system that's currently being introduced in provinces such as Ontario, even out in BC and Quebec, and soon to be pretty much any other province. We can extrapolate how the mask mandates rolled out. Now, these provincial governments like Doug Ford, they continue to pass the buck onto the local businesses. They said, we're not going to be the ones to introduce the vaccine passport, but we'll make the technology available for businesses to do this. And you know what? They try to say that they're going to pass this on to the businesses, and the federal government right now, they're saying, oh, we have nothing to do with this. But in the same breath, they're making billions of dollars available to implement these systems. As many people have been speaking out in the last few months, this is going to create 2 tiers of society. This is going to continue to put citizens against each other. A lot of us have already been at odds with our friends and our families, our neighbors and our co-workers on our stance against these things. And so when it's coming to this issue, we can't allow the establishment and the media and these health officials to continue to divide us. We need to make sure that we're taking personal responsibility, we're preserving our individual freedom, and we're also sharing respect and fairness to those who choose to either take these vaccinations or not take them. When our Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is coming out and saying you're anti this or anti that, that's extremely divisive, alarming. And we can look throughout history and see what types of consequences came to the citizens when these leaders put out this type of discourse. So it's very disturbing to see this coming from our federal government, our provincial governments, all the way down to our local governments and our health officials. So we can't continue to let them divide us based on vaccine status, whether or not we wear a mask when we go into a store. We're free Canadians, and we're able to make our own decisions on how to best protect our health and to safeguard ourselves. We do not need to be told anything by unelected public health officials. As I've said, this is unprecedented what's happening in our country right now, and I've been saying this point quite a bit. For a country that had our men and women who served in World War II fight to put an end to these types of show me your papers policies in Nazi Germany, and now we're seeing the same thing being introduced by our own government. It's egregious and it's despicable. And some people will get turned off by these Nazi analogies, but you know what? If the people are so upset about it, then you should stop acting like that, and those analogies wouldn't be put forward. So as I said, we need to respect people's individual choices, their private medical decisions. It's nobody's business if you've had no vaccines, 1 vaccine, 2 vaccines, or however many boosters they have out now. And this issue isn't just privy to these vaccine passports. They've continued to try to divide us over our race. I've seen a whole bunch of this critical race theory nonsense coming out. I've even heard now that the climate is racist. I don't know how that works being a First Nations person right now. Apparently the temperature is picking on minorities in Canada. It's absolutely absurd. So as I said, we have to make sure that we're focusing on the principles and the values that unite us as a nation. Yes, Canada is diverse in many ways. We have some very unique cultures that make us a truly unique place to live, whether that's our First Nations people, some of our British settlers that helps come together with our First Nations people and share those two worldviews to make Canada what it is today. There's unique cultures throughout Canada, whether it's our Quebecers, our people out in Alberta, British Columbia. These are the cultures that we want to make sure that we're protecting, and we in the same breath too, we also need to make sure that we're uniting on issues. We cannot continue to alienate certain provinces. The current equalization formula that's upheld by our federal government is taking a lot of the wealth some of these provinces have been able to accumulate, and they're not distributing it easily. When our founders of our confederation put this equalization formula in the Constitution, there was no set amount of how much money was to be transferred, and this was never intended to be a permanent program. So we need to create the right economic opportunities so that these provinces that might not have as much lucrative sources to their economy are able to invest, create the right opportunities for investment and economic growth and innovation. So I said there's a lot of positive things that the People's Party of Canada will do for Canadians. We are not going to continue to polarize and divide our citizens. As I said, we're going to focus on the unique cultures and the principles that make us Canadians and make us free Canadians. So we're going to continue to fight for freedom, not only here in Haldimand, Norfolk, Brantford or Brant County, but all across Ontario, all the way from coast to coast, all across Canada. So it's really important that you speak to your friends and family about our message. Continue to help spread the message about our upcoming election, September 20th. I know it's pretty obvious to most of us that we're smack dab in the middle of this, coming to the end now, but there's some people that are just totally disconnected from the political issues in Canada. So make sure you're spreading the message, and also make sure you spread it to those who have been so disenfranchised from the current government and haven't paid attention to politics in years or haven't voted. There's a good majority of our population that has never voted before, or they have not voted in recent years. We can turn this around, Canada. We do not need a majority. We need a very irate minority that's going to stand up for what they know is right. And I'm happy to be a part of a political party, the People's Party of Canada, that will do just that and will continue to do that in Ottawa. So thank you guys for listening to my little bit of a spiel there. Now, this is my first time running in a federal election or an election of any kind. So when I first had my nomination to the PPC officially acclaimed by the People's Party, I had fate would have it that I had Ken actually reach out to me, and he's been a great mentor along the way. Ken's a wealth of knowledge. He's ran in elections before with the Reform Party, and he's incredibly in tune with the political climate in Canada. He's been through the ringer a couple times with debates, so he gave me a lot of good pointers on that. And he's been a really good friend throughout this last few weeks, and I've been very grateful to get to know him. And it's a real pleasure to see somebody like Ken that's a part of the People's Party of Canada and bringing that knowledge and that information and that background to the People's Party of Canada. So as a party and as an individual, I'm very proud that he's a member and that he's continuing to stand up for our fundamental rights and freedoms here in Canada. So without any further delay, it's my honor to call up Ken Gilpin to come and share his message with the People's Party of Canada. Thank you, guys.